just because we're going from England out to America, it shouldn't be, oh yeah, I'm only going to go D1. I've seen lads who have come across from England, Germany, Sweden, Spain, wherever, come across thinking they're going to be starters, and they haven't started, come on for 20 minutes one game, not come on for another. And it's there where you're going, if I come out here to play, or if I come out here just to fill in.
How would you describe the level of Division 1 college soccer match?
Extremely competitive. I think in terms of a match and the season, obviously it's quite a condensed season too, but the intensity of games that come to you playing usually 2 games a week in a short period of time, the matches, the level and quality, I think it speaks for itself, where you see lads come out of college, go and play, make Premier League or MLS appearances, and eventually go on to their nationals.
I think it's important for a lot of people to know that getting into the university, if you're a good footballer, the coach will help you with admissions. And a lot of the time the coaches are talking to admissions like, hey, I really need this guy, can we get him in? So how was your admissions process?
I want to say it was fairly straightforward in terms of I had my GCSEs and I had my certificates. I had everything to do with my BTEC, which obviously you scan and send over. So in terms of that, it was okay. The coaches were good and so were admissions, that made it easier. Just making sure that you have everything in line, making sure that whatever education you do, just try and do it to the best of your ability.
One thing you wish you knew before moving to Division 1?
Recovery in between games, knowing that your games are condensed and how you nutrition-wise and recover.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Select Generation podcast. Today, I'm really excited for the episode. We've got Henry Lander, who is a former Bournemouth Academy player. He's also a graduate from University of San Diego and current football coach. So interesting about Henry, when we first started the team in Bournemouth and I was trying to find a coach, I went on LinkedIn and I searched for all the football people in Bournemouth, and I was looking, and obviously you have all your Bournemouth Academy coaches and whatnot. And then I saw like University of San Diego and I was like, hang on a minute, really? Like interesting. So I clicked on your profile and I saw your background and I was like, okay, I'm going to message Henry. And he is a very busy man. He is currently a PE teacher. He's currently a football coach. And he's also had a really interesting football career, playing, currently recovering from an injury. And I'm excited to talk to Henry today, mainly because of his background in going to play Division 1 college soccer. It's something that is not really... Well, it's something that I think in Bournemouth is not typical. Obviously, there's a lot of internationals going to the USA, but it's interesting from someone that went not just to the US, but to a top Division 1 school. I think Henry's going to have a really good perspective and a good story. So I've got a lot of questions for Henry and we'll get into it. But Henry, for someone that is like a 16, 17, 18-year-old American player that's listening to this podcast, why do you think that they can relate to your story?
I think it's massive. First of all, thank you for having me on. I know obviously I've been in touch a long time. But for someone in high school looking to go into college, I think it's just really important, sort of like the exposure and I think the all-round experience of it. Going into university where it might be moving to a different state, it might not be that you're staying close to home or local. Obviously for me, it was moving across to California, but even so, I had teammates that moved across the country who you can relate to as well. So I think it's quite big. It is a big step, and making sure that when you go, you prepare yourself, but at the same time, you can prepare yourself as much as you want to, but you never know what it's gonna be like. So yeah, that links back to my story a little bit as well.
So for someone in England that is going, like, well, first off, you're obviously playing for Bournemouth Academy and then you've gone out to University of San Diego. Like, why did that happen? How did that happen?
It was always something that I was interested in. Bournemouth were really good at the time with sort of giving us different avenues as well to go down once if we were released, or if you still get a pro contract, even just thinking about next steps. Because as much as, everyone wants to, there will be a time where your story or your journey comes to an end, maybe at a certain club. So Bournemouth were really good at providing that for us as scholars down the line. And interestingly enough, there was a lad who was at Bournemouth 2 years before me that had actually done it. And that just sort of sparked my interest. And my dad actually works for British Airways. So just being out to America and had sort of like relatives that live out there, sort of like distant relatives. But seeing America, loved it out there and just wanted to go and explore it. And I think the opportunity of seeing someone else do it a couple of years before just made me think, yeah, this could be for me.
So University of San Diego, that is a school that I would have loved to have gone there. It's probably a lot of players' dream schools. How do you go from Bournemouth to San Diego?
Cool. Yeah, that's a good question. I'll try and compare the two, to be fair. But yeah, it was originally, there was a link. I don't think the company's still running, but it was Pass for Soccer. So a guy
Same as me.
Yeah,
Same as me.
Okay, Tom Nutter?
Tom Nutter.
Yeah, so Tom Nutter. He was the one that sort of came down and delivered to us as a youth team at Bournemouth about the opportunity to go out to America, what it would entail, the different steps. And obviously there's so much to it that
You don't really know.
I wouldn't even say naively. I just think as someone that is over in England, doesn't really know or understand the college system as well, because I think at the time it probably wasn't as big or as publicised. Came and delivered to us, said we've got trial days where coaches will come across from America and watch. So me and my friend signed up for the trial day.
Was it Hartpury or was it in Bishop Abbey?
Yeah, that's it. Bishop
Abbey.
Yeah, Bishop Abbey. So went there with my friend, and just went for the trial day, and it's quite interesting because I guess we're never in an environment like it where you are literally plucked from a game after and then spoken to by a coach.
So the San Diego coach was at Bishop Abbey and he's watching you, and after the game he says, "I like you."
Yeah, so it was, everyone would watch. Then after, there would be it was almost like a parents' evening where they set up tables.
It's at the church, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's at the church.
That's right. So they set up tables and different coaches sat on different tables, and you've got a list of the coaches or the schools that want to talk to you. So you just literally go around from table to table, and I guess they give it a bit of a sales pitch almost.
So why do you think that San Diego picked you out from that game? Did you have a really good game? Was it because you had on your CV Bournemouth Academy player? Why do you think that they picked you?
I think a little bit of both. I think probably when I play, I communicate, centre half, and probably from that see someone that's, again, can communicate well. I did all right on the day as well, I thought. But I do also think there were some really good players there, but maybe because of previously or where they played, it might not have jumped to coaches straight away. And I also think as well, that is what coaches look for. So some coaches might be really thorough with their scouting, and they might go, right, I'm going to look into this lad that I'm looking at to get across, or whoever it may be. I want to see where they've played previously, but I'm also going to look at footage, game highlights, whereas some of the coaches might have just gone, he's at AFC Bournemouth. And at the time, I was a second year, so I did that in the Christmas time of 2015.
Right.
So that was Bournemouth's first year in the Premier League. Right. So I was there. My first year as a scholar was Bournemouth getting promoted in the Championship. Second year was Bournemouth in the Premier League.
So why did you sign up for the trial? Because there might have been some of your teammates that are like, well, I want to play in the Premier League. I want to be a professional. Yeah. Some players that are like, if I don't do this, I want to go down to non-league.
Yeah.
So it was because you'd kind of been to America and you were interested in that? Or?
Yeah, I'd seen the pathways. I'll be honest, academically, I wouldn't say I'm extremely academic, but I wanted to carry on my academics. So I actually quite enjoyed it. And it was just something where, someone's done it 2 years previous. And I saw, again, social media is a really good tool, so to speak, to get exposure, being showed them videos of it. For some of my teammates at the time, weren't too interested in it, wanted to try and pursue a career, even if they were released through the non-league or another club. Some lads got their pro contract and have gone on to make Premier League appearances. One of them's still out in America, is out in America now, so done it, but just through MLS. It was that way. But I'll be honest, I look at it now and I'm like, if they'd offered me a year's contract and then I'd taken it and then got released, it's kind of like, I don't know. If from my experience that I had there, I wouldn't change the way it went.
So, because I think a lot of, for example, there'll be a lot of players and parents listening to this that they don't really understand kind of the use of agents and agencies. And everyone always asks me, like, how do you go from Woking to the middle of nowhere in North Carolina? And it's interesting that Pass for Soccer is not running anymore, but they would fly. I mean, there's a lot of different agencies that fly over the coaches from the US to England, to Spain, to Germany, to France, and they'll have like their own combines. And you don't really understand like who you're competing against for these scholarships. Yeah. And I think the level, like even 7-8 years ago, Bournemouth Academy, Premier League Academy players going to the US. Now you see there was a kid from Ohio State who's played in the in Champions League, and now he's going to Ohio State. Yeah. How would you describe the level? And also for people, I remember when I went to America, because you could be going to like a JUCO and an NAAA, a Division One, right? And you don't really know the level. And I remember some of my friends were giving me banter like, "Oh, you're going to America?" Like anyone could go to America. To an English person that doesn't understand the level, how would you describe the level of Division One college soccer match?
Extremely competitive. I think in terms of a match and the season, obviously it's quite a condensed season too, but the intensity of games that come, so you're playing usually 2 games a week in a short period of time. The matches, again, it depends types of teams you're up against. We came up against some really technical teams down in Southern California. Trying to think of, we had UC Riverside, obviously had UCLA down there, Santa Barbara. And then there were other teams that really physical test as well. I remember my first game was Duke away. So we had Duke and Elon away in, where is that? Virginia.
North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah, that's the one. And yeah, it was almost like I did well in the 2 games, but it was like, God, this is a level. I remember marking a striker that was extremely physical, 6'4", and I'd played non-league when I got released from Bournemouth for about 12 games. I went on a youth experience loan. And I think that probably put me in good stead. But the level and quality, I think it speaks for itself, where you see lads come out of college, go and play, make Premier League or MLS appearances, and eventually go on to their national teams as well.
So someone might be listening to this and be like, wow, are you really comparing like a Premier League academy to Division 1?
So I think in terms of individuals, I think you find individuals within college that are at that level and that can progress through, that maybe you might have gone under the radar or just developed and flourished at a different time. I think the actual standard of game is a really good standard. It's difficult to compare from, say, like an under-18s academy to a Division 1 game.
Yeah.
But you do get a lot of guys that go over, do really well. There's been some times where I think I've seen lads go over that struggle in their first year, and I think sometimes that's adapting to the style of play. It's also adapting to the lifestyle, being in a different country away from home. But again, you can utilise your redshirt year where you can go in and then you can be a redshirt senior when you're finishing. And sometimes that can work in your benefit and be a big strength to you. So I don't think it's a guarantee that you're going to go out there and you're going to play straight away.
What was your biggest challenge in moving over there?
It was a lot of little things. I would say the biggest thing I found being in California as well, so used to walking to the shop, so used to just walking around the corner to get something or going to a friend's where everything was like, you're driving. That I didn't think it would be.
Really? Even at USD on a big campus?
Yeah, I mean, it was big, but it wasn't a lot of the lifestyle because of San Diego was off campus. So you'd do stuff on campus, but off campus, I mean, the lifestyle in San Diego was incredible. I mean, you could Uber and whatnot, but I think naively from me, I just didn't take into consideration the little things. And then when USD was quite an academic institute university, and again, naively, I wasn't aware that you have to fulfill the requirements of the university's education as well as your degree that you want to do. So
what do you mean by that?
English, maths, science.
Oh, you have to do these gen eds.
I remember, I think my first class was psychology of literature and love or something. And I looked at it on my timetable and I was thinking,
I want to study business.
I was thinking, what is this? I was like, I've got no clue. So yeah, little things like that sort of just, I would say, hit me a little bit in terms of I probably should have known it before I went out and had a better understanding. It's interesting though,
because you don't really do your research. It's crazy to think like all the internationals I speak to when you go over to America, the first thing in theory you should do is research and do your research. Yeah. I feel like no one does their research because I went to a school with 1,500 people in the middle of North Carolina. And not like as much as the internationals say you're going over there to have a life experience and study and meet people, you're going there for football. Yeah. Like you picked USD because of football. Yeah. You picked the school because of football. But I think people don't really do a lot of research. I mean, culturally, I know for me, one of the biggest things was like all the fast food. Like going downtown was like all of the, we had like Cookout and Zaxby's and obviously McDonald's, Burger King and all these places. And I think that's something that I... just culturally, like the way that people spoke and the accents and going to Walmart, like culturally, what was different?
I think that was the biggest thing. I moved, so I went there as a freshman and there was a redshirt senior. Or was he? No, he was a grad student and he was a coach. So like a grad assistant. He was English, but just from the age gap, say like on the weekends, obviously he'd go out and, obviously you're not old enough over there to go out and socialise. Obviously you've got to check your ID and whatnot. So a lot of the time I was the only English guy in my friendship group or within the university, which at times I found difficult because you just go and say all right to someone and they're like, yeah, I'm all right. Like thinking that I'm asking if they're okay, like something's wrong. But it's just little things like that and jokes and sense of humour.
Yeah, I think the banter is a tough one.
Yeah, sometimes like people don't pick up on it that
sarcasm
well. And I think as they get to know you and as you obviously go through it, people get to know you as a character, as a person, and then start to obviously probably understand you a bit better. But January time, two of my best mates joined at that time.
From England or?
Yeah, so one of them so they weren't my best mates at the time, but one of them was a transfer from a D2 school, Texas A&M International. Yeah. Is it down in Laredo?
I'm not sure. West Texas A&M maybe.
Yeah. And then the other came from Atkinson Stanley, where he'd just done, so he got released at the same time as me, but had just done 6 months of just sort of like seeing what he wanted to do. But he came out as a freshman in the spring. So yeah, having those two made it, I say, a piece from home a little bit. And then I had my best friend still today, a guy called Miguel. He was a real big support for me.
How do you make friends in that environment? Because I think one of the, like, we've obviously taken a lot of boys internationally, and one of the things parents and players, they always ask is like, yeah, but he's going to be away from his friends and his family, and how is he going to make friends? And I think, well, yeah, how was your experience like integrating with the team?
I think the massive thing is the senior class, or the, more experienced people that have been there a couple of years took me under their wing. Have captain's camp every year where you don't have your house in, but the seniors and juniors on the team put you up in their houses or whatever it may be, and just support you through it. So I think that was probably like the biggest thing. When university started, or the education started, and everyone came onto campus, it was probably like one of the, I don't know, most sort of American experiences I've had. But the orientation, I think it was such a good way to meet people.
What did you do during your orientation?
So I remember we did it was kind of like an Easter egg hunt, but it was like round the campus with like everyone else in athletics. So you were mixed with like tennis, volleyball, football, basketball, and you had to go out and you had to do like little social activities and missions, and you had like 45 minutes to an hour to do it. And then you had to come back and as a group. And then the university was just really good at putting different stuff on. So I think that was one of the big ways in which you're able to socialise, get to know people. I always think classes was a big one as well. Like a lot of the time I had classes with different people. So just sitting near people, having that experience of going to class. Sometimes it might even be study zones or sessions. And then we had basically a sole place we would have our dinner. So 4:30 to I think about 11 was the time. It's called the SLP, Student Life Pavilion. But that was just a really good time to socialise as well. A lot of freshmen and sophomores who lived on campus would go because they've got meal plans. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, my experience from USD, seniors and juniors were really good.
So do you think that playing, and when you went over there, your first year, were you like the best centre-back? Were you straight in the starting 11? How was football, your integration to the team?
Integration to football was good. We were quite an inexperienced team at the time. There was a couple of seniors who had been there for the 4 years that had won the conference, I think, a year or two previous. But I went straight in, felt I did well. And then there was probably a period around mid to end of the season where I dropped off a little bit. I think a lot of the time that's where your midterms come up, and a lot, again, wasn't used to it. I think my football took a bit of a knock from it, so did my confidence, and was missing home.
So academically, how did you get into the university if you weren't that strong academically?
I wasn't strongest academically in terms of natural ability, but I'd worked really hard. So my GCSEs were really important. So obviously at 16 you do GCSEs in England. I believe I got 10 or 11 A to Cs. Oh, wow. So worked hard for them. And then the same with my level 3 BTEC at Bournemouth that we did through the Brockenhurst College, which is a local college around here. Ended up getting, basically I went for the top grade because I knew that if I wanted to go to America, I need to give myself the best chance with my grades. Because I know obviously that
Did you take the SAT?
I did take the SAT.
That is really
wasn't
difficult.
Great, but I remember going to, again, a local Camford school, it's a private school, and it's like was it like a
6 hours?
6 hour, yeah, 6 hour exam. And I just remember sitting there, and it was like, the thing that like really threw me was if you put an answer and get it wrong, you lose half a mark.
Negative marking,
And I was like, I'm not too sure. And I'll just sit there and question myself on it. But luckily, I guess I did okay.
Yeah. I want to talk about this because I think it's important for a lot of people to know that getting into the university, if you're a good footballer, the coach will help you with admissions. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time the coaches are talking to admissions like, hey, I really need this guy. Yeah. Can we get him in? So how, like, were you talking to admissions, or the admissions was like, yeah, we talked to your coach, we'll take care of it? Like, how was your admissions process?
My admissions process, to be fair, my mum helped me a lot, but it was fairly straightforward in terms of I had my GCSEs and I had my certificates. I had everything to do with my BTEC, which obviously you scan and send over. So in terms of that, it was okay. The coaches were good and so were admissions, so it made it easier. It was just making sure that you have everything in line, making sure that whatever education you do, just try and do it to the best of your ability. Because again, it might have been a case where if I didn't, or if I didn't have a good grade in my BTEC, if I just got a pass merit, might have been that USD would have turned around and said, I'm sorry, we can't.
So you were pretty switched on with your academics in terms of doing everything to the best of your ability. When you were at Bournemouth growing up, did you just want to be a footballer? Did you think that education was important for you? Like, how was your footballing, what was your football career like growing up?
I was never the best player ever. And I was always middle of the pack, I think. To the point where at times I was bottom of the pack. Under 12s, I was told that I had 6 weeks to improve or I'd be released. And I just stayed on and just trained, and they changed their mind. Under 16s, so my scholarship, I remember I started off under 16s really well. And I think I was online to get a scholarship, nothing early, but I just thought from the way in which I performed, I thought, yeah, I'm probably got a chance at getting a scholarship here. And then I think midway, probably around like Christmas time, I think I picked up a little niggle for 3 weeks. Anyway, I say naively again, but started to put on a bit of weight. Came back and I wasn't on it. And funnily enough, the guy that was my youth team manager had just come in, so he hadn't seen me previously, saw me train, and I wasn't at the level, I'll be honest. They didn't end up offering me a scholarship. I remember my mum and dad telling me, actually, and I was like, oh my goodness, I wasn't surprised, because again, I wasn't like, yeah, I'm going to get one or I'm not going to get one. It was just like, oh, what am I going to do now? Anyway.
And so how old are you at that
point? I was 16. Yeah, 16. So because I was just returning from an injury, or I was a bit out of shape and not at it, I just said, look, can I continue training? And I've been there since I was 7. So a lot of people at the club knew me in the academy from obviously when I was small. So I said, yeah, more than welcome. Anyway, just kept my head down, trained, and yeah, got to, I think it was right up to the wire, to be fair. It was probably about April, May time. And they just said, we want to offer you a scholarship. But I think, yeah, when we did the test towards the end of the season, I was 19% body fat. And I think the requirement or the standard was 11. So over the summer, I really had to watch what I was doing.
So when they said we're not going to offer you something and you decided to stick and train, a lot of people would be like, okay, fine, I'm going to leave and go and play and get minutes. Why did you not want to go and play for a different club and play? A different club for me was, I wouldn't say out of the question, but Southampton was, at the time, they had, funnily enough, Ben White was my age at Southampton. And it was where I thought Bournemouth would have been a better fit. I was never online to go to Southampton. But yeah, I was just at Bournemouth. And again, I think with the travel commitments and everything, and where I've been there since I was 7, I'm a Bournemouth fan, grew up by the ground. Why didn't you go and play for like Wimborne or someone else, like a non-league club?
But I just think testing myself and the exposure of staying at Bournemouth for the rest of that season was a better option. And the non-league, I say circuit, or the non-league teams here weren't as strong as they are now, I don't think. Poole Town were probably same league or Conference South. But Wimborne, I think, were Wessex, which is step 5 maybe.
So I want to talk about this because I think it links into a good point. I always talk about being likable and being a good person and being coachable and being part of a team. And I think probably one of the reasons why they said, okay, you can keep on is because they liked you and because they thought you were a good trainer. Do you think that's true? Yeah,
I 100% think if I didn't have the same attitude, I say mentality, but principles that I work by, live by, play by, then I wouldn't have been, I would never have been offered a scholarship.
So why do you think that you, as a youth player at 16, 17, why do you think that they kept you on? Why were you likable?
I think they probably just saw my attitude in terms of how, not that I wanted to turn it around, but I'd obviously stayed on to train, try and get fit. And I think my performances started to get better and they might have seen that. I'd always sort of been, again, never the best player on my team. Nowhere, I wouldn't say nowhere near it, but not at the top of the group. But I was usually quite often captain just because I say leadership skills, but playing at the back, communication, talking to my teammates.
What does leadership skills mean? Because I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. You have captains who scream and shout. You have captains who lead by example. Why were you a good leader?
On the pitch, I'd lead by example, but on the pitch, I'd communicate, but off the pitch, I'd lead by example. So,
why?
Because for me, it was fundamentally what I'd done through my life and it was the right thing to do.
What does lead by example mean? What were you doing?
For me, turn up, clean boots. It would be making sure my kit was right, I had everything, preparing right. It would be making sure the kit was packed away after training and games. Make sure you're doing a warm-up right. Everything I did to 100%, I did to the best of my ability to give myself the best chance. And when I look back on, I wouldn't say career, but when I look back on the time I played, I can go, yeah, I gave it my everything and I did everything down to detail.
And why were you like that? Was that something that you got from within? Do you have an older brother? Was it your mum and your dad?
Yeah, I've got an older brother. He played football just sort of Sunday league, and then I think he stopped at about 16, 18. Mum and dad have always been like massive supporters, and I think they're a big part of it. And the advice they give me, and my dad will kill me for saying it, but I personally don't think he knows a lot about football. And I think if you asked him, he loves his football, but when my dad was watching and supporting, he would never be that parent to shout at me, say, you've done this bad, you've done that bad, you've done this well. He would just support. He'd just go along just to watch. And he gave me the license. Well, I wouldn't say he gave me the license, but it gave me the license to just go out, listen to my coaches, play. But in terms of making sure you're on time to train and making sure you turn up, making sure you're doing the right thing, helping pack away, respectful, manners, shaking hands to coaches when you arrive, little details like that.
How important are all those details?
I personally think it's massive. Right. I just think it's a sign of respect. For me, it's just that you're here, you're professional. Again, you're enjoying it. I think enjoyment's massive. Kids have got to enjoy football, young players, everyone's got to enjoy it. That's why we play the game. But I just think those principles, whenever you meet someone, whenever it's turning up, shaking hands, saying hello, just being that type of person. And that was carried over into the youth team. Whenever we were at the youth team, we had to go into the office, shake people's hands. If you saw a first team player, shake their hands. Same with the gaffer at the time.
If I'm a player listening to this and I'm thinking, I'm really nervous going into training, I don't like shaking people's hands, or I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, for the last 3 years, I've never asked my coach how he is. How do you learn those traits? How do you develop them?
I think it's stepping out your comfort zone to do it. I think people appreciate just the coming. For me, it's a sign of respect, coming in and just shaking a hand. It doesn't have to be a conversation. It's just an acknowledgement. I think a lot of the times if I was a player and I just turned up and got a ball out of the bag and started kicking it about, didn't go and say hello, then I'm not really forming that relationship with my coach or with the people around me, the people that you probably spend a lot of time with out on the pitch as well. I think Bournemouth was really good as well at, I wouldn't say enforcing it, but making sure it happened, making sure that you came in, shake people's hands.
So you're a coach, Henry, now, and you're coaching at Bournemouth Academy and at your school. As a coach, what would you say your coaching style is?
Good question. I'd say I'm still finding it out as I go, and I think it's different with. I say it's different, but obviously with younger age groups to older age groups, it might be sometimes you might be a bit firmer as you go older. Depending on whether is it a competition that you're in, is it just a friendly that you're playing. But I love seeing players come in and express themselves, let them make decisions, try different things. I think it's brilliant for players to do that.
How do you build a good team culture as the coach?
Again, I think just off respect, values, and making sure that the players have input. I don't think it's our team. It's not the head coach's team. It's not the assistant coaches or team. It's everyone's team. So making sure that the input comes from everyone.
And how do you communicate that to the players?
Workshops, give them opportunities. Say, right, okay, today we're going to look at how we're going to turn up to a game. So it might be start of the season. What are our expectations of each other? How do you want coaches to be with players to be with coaches? And I think that's true with not just football, but just life in general, in work. So how do you want our culture to look like within our work system or whatever it may be?
Who's the best coach that you ever had?
I've had a lot of good coaches. The one that had the biggest impact on me was a coach called Carl Fletcher and Joe Roach, who were my two youth coaches. I think for a lot of the things that we've sort of spoken about, but just the culture that he instilled, the respect. He was firm on us, real firm on us. But for me, that brought the best out in me.
When you say firm, what do you mean?
Expectations and standards. Everything had to be done to a set standard for it to be, I wouldn't say deemed acceptable. That sounds a bit thorough, but for it to be
a good session.
Yeah, a good session, but he held us to that account off the pitch as well as people. So I think he developed a lot of us as footballers, and I think there's a fair few in the age or around my age that have gone on to have good careers. Yeah. And I think both Joe Roach and him have played a really big part in that. And I think, again, it's only when you sort of step back and reflect, you realise the impact that someone's had on you as a player, as a coach, as a person. And definitely those two coaches have had a massive impact on the way in which I conduct myself at work, the way in which I conduct myself at coaching, or when I go and play a game, or even just in life in general if I was to meet someone.
This is an interesting topic I've never spoke about, but I want to talk about the coaching differences between England and the NCAA. I don't think I've ever met a player from the NCAA that's had 100% good things to say about their coach. I feel like in America, everyone's always complaining about their coach, recruiting, the session, tactics. And every time I talk to an international player that's been to the NCAA, they always talk about like tactically how behind America is. How, and obviously you're coaching now, you played in the top level in England. How is the coaching style or philosophies or just in general different from NCAA to England?
Yeah, so my two coaches at the time, so the head coach and assistant head were actually Irish. And then Nico, who was assistant, was English. So for me, it was kind of, I had that link, if you know what I mean. So when I was being recruited, I had that link to home where they've obviously gone over to America, moved to America. Yeah, exactly. And they've sort of come, I felt like there was some sort of relation. That was quite big for me. I think the two I was picking between university or Pittsburgh University, which at the time I was unaware of. I think they were poor, they were like 1-17 the season before. And I knew nothing about ACC football. And then, USD. But I think the way in which it was, I think there was a bit of a contrast. I would say that I had more experience, and I don't know if it was because it was a professional club, but the tactical side of it at Bournemouth was probably more detailed and thorough. But what I noticed, and again, at under-18s, it is competitive, but because it's such a condensed and short season in America,
you have to win every game.
You have to win. We were ranked top 25 numerous occasions. You lose one game to, I don't know, I won't mention a university, but you lose someone who's ranked 150th or lower,
you drop.
Your ranking's gone. And now you're looking over your shoulder thinking, right, it's now down to conference. We had, I think it was probably 8 or 9 teams in conference. You lose a game in conference.
How important is winning?
In terms of out in America?
Yeah.
Extremely important.
So how did you transition from academy football? Because I've been talking to a few coaches and like, obviously academy football, like you want to win. When you're playing in a good team, winning, that's where you develop players. Yeah. But how do you transition from like playing in a U18 league, doesn't really matter if you win or lose, to then going and playing 3 months and you have to win every game? Yeah,
I would say it's tough. Under 18s is extremely competitive. You go out to win, but it also has a focus obviously on the development and how players are getting on. But from when I was released to going on loan to a team called Dorchester Town, which was Southern Prem at the time, that was probably a really good middle ground because I was an 18-year-old boy, so to speak, around grown men. And I remember my first game was away at a team called Hitchin Town, and it was just that, like, this is men's football. This is the competition. Like, people work during the week in non-league, semi-pro. They're not spending their weekends driving 3-4 hours to just go through the motions in a game. Like, it was the most physical 12 matches I've ever had in my life. But it was a really good transition period into America. I think the transition from under 18s to America, again, if I was to compare the two without Dorchester, it was physical. And again, you have from 18 to 22, I think that's such a big age gap where you've probably still got lads that aren't fully developed, maybe physically. I remember we had a couple of German players on our team who were 23, 24. So you're playing against lads who physically might be more dominant than you from redshirt senior to a freshman. So that's something that I found different, and it was a competitive element of it.
So how did non-league, so I know we spoke a little bit off camera, but you went and go play non-league for a bit when you got released from Bournemouth to get ready for the NCAA. How did that help?
Just helped massively. Just going up against more physical opponents. I'll probably say in general, a more direct style of play, which I experienced out in America as well at times. Again, different teams play different, obviously, from your experience as well. But yeah, it was just 12 games where, again, my youth team manager was brilliant. I remember him ringing me after the first game, like really excited. We'd lost 3-2, but like, how'd you get on? Oh yeah, I've spoke to the manager, I heard you did all right. So like that level of care as well just put me in good stead. But those games really just exposed me, and it was almost like I was playing, I wouldn't say free, but when you're in academy, obviously it's always like you're always being watched, aren't you?
How is youth football different to men's football?
I'll probably say what I experienced, the direct style of play. And again, the contact time you have in a men's football that is semi-professional, you're only in probably 1 or 2 evenings a week, depending on the level you're at. So the amount of detail you're able to go into about tactics, about what your game plan is going to be on a weekend can obviously vary. Whereas academy or youth team football, obviously you're in full time when you're 16 to 18. So that was a big difference. A lot of the time it would be, right, this is how we're set up, this is how we're going to play. And you almost had to problem solve as you went at times. Luckily, I think I've been extremely lucky with the teams I've played in, but at Dorchester Town, you had some experienced players that have played in the League 2 Conference South. So you have that experience for 12 games and get knowledge from them and get them to sort of show me the ropes and stuff from my first experience in men's football.
Was there any point where you were getting ready to go to San Diego and you were like, I really want to stay in England and make it as a footballer in England?
No, my mind was set on going out to America. From the process, from everything, I was excited. I'd never been in fact, I think I had maybe when I was like really small, but San Diego, I've seen pictures of it, seen videos. I thought, God, this place looks unbelievable. When I was preparing to go out, when did I go out? I probably went out
2016.
So I went out end of July or around that time.
Yeah.
I think captain's camp started start of August. But for the 3 weeks prior, I trained with Bournemouth's development squad, which was like 21s, I guess. So I actually had kind of like a little bit of an experience of what it would have been like had I had a contract there. Again, the development squad manager was really good to me. And just, said, come in, you can keep your fitness and then go out to America from there. But yeah, I think I was set on it. I love the idea of it. When I got out there, I'll be honest, from September when school started to December. In fact, no, even from August, from when I actually was in captain's camp and I was like, right, this is the education. I was overwhelmed. And I got to a point where I was like, I could just not come back because, again, I didn't have my 2 best mates now who are English. They weren't there at the time. I probably just felt a bit isolated and homesick, really.
Did you have a roommate?
Yes, I did. He was on the team as well. He ended up leaving the team after the first year. He was a walk-on. Okay. Lovely lad, really good, and it was really good to me, to be fair.
Difficult to connect.
It was just,
So why were you overwhelmed? Because someone might be listening to this and be like, how are you overwhelmed? You're living in San Diego, you play football every day. Yeah, you have to go to class. That's normal. Like everyone goes to class. I don't think people realise like you can't really breathe in the full.
No.
So why were you overwhelmed?
I was overwhelmed I didn't realise it at the time, I was homesick. Probably missing mum and dad quite a lot. Obviously used to being away from them now. But yeah, I think it was tough at the start. Obviously being away from everything you know. I'd lived in Bournemouth for 18 years. All my friends were here. And it was...
The worst is when you see them at like Freshers Week at uni on Snapchat and you're looking at all the stories. And it's like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It's, you know...
Yeah, it was... I don't know. Just seeing my friends obviously still here. And when the work... From my... SAT score or whatever, I had to take a math placement test to see what class I'd be placed into. Anyway, I took the test and like the guy was saying, I think it was like one of the directors or whatever, he was like, oh, what's your maths like? It's like, yeah, like, I think I got like maybe a B+ or an A at GCSE. I was like, yeah, it's all right. It's quite good, probably one of my strongest. He was right, we'll put you in a top placement test. I was like, okay, I'll give it a go. I remember seeing these signs and words I've never seen before in my life. Anyway, I was sat there for about half hour trying to go through it. I'm thinking, okay, I got to the end, pressed the button, didn't pass. Like, I got like 2 out of 45 or something. Move on to the next one. Anyway, there were 4 of these tests like to do because I'd gone in, he'd put me in at the highest one. And again, this is probably naive from where I didn't do my research or didn't know as well, but also how was I meant to? I ended up in Math 90, which wasn't even a college class. It was a prerequisite for college algebra. So that moment, and then when I saw a couple of classes, I'm like, what am I doing? It was the philosophy of literature and love. I'm thinking, what have I got myself into? Because I was like, I went out to do business and you needed to have, calculus is it? Yeah, intro to calculus.
It's frustrating because I remember I wanted to do economics, and you have to take maths, drama, music, history, and I'm thinking I just want to do study what I want to study and play football.
Yeah, so I wanted to do business studies or international business or something.
And just for everyone watching, just if you don't understand the context, in the US, in England, obviously you go to university and you pick your subject and that's it. But in the US, you have 4 years. So the first year is different types of subjects to, I guess, give you a more well-rounded education. So that's that.
Yeah, it allows you to sort of experience different classes and then see what do I want to major in. For me, I wanted to do business studies. Did a couple of business studies classes, intro to economics and stuff. Thought this isn't really for me. Found that I did a couple of communication classes. I can't remember exactly what they were, but just found that it was more conversation based, more essay based. You'd have tests at the end or midterms. But it's just something that I actually really engaged with and really enjoyed.
So for someone that wants to get recruited to go out to America and play, I'm in England. I want to go and play at University of San Diego. What do I need to do for that coach to find out about me?
So depends. You can go around it a couple of ways. I think the best way to do it is to go with an agency. I think the support they give you, I think the way in which they look after you and have your best interest. Again, I was with Pass for Soccer, and I remember when I was being recruited, there was another guy called Dan. I can't remember his name. Might have been. But it was between USD and University of Pittsburgh, which was ACC. I remember University of Pittsburgh offered me scholarship and whatnot. And from my dad, where he flies a lot, he's been to Pittsburgh. And he was just like, if you're wanting to go, or between the two, he didn't know much about football, but he goes San Diego, 100%. I didn't know much about ACC, but I think now looking back on it, the agency were probably trying to push me towards Pittsburgh because it was ACC, it would have been, and I think he might still be there. I don't know the head coach's name.
Vikovic.
Yeah. So that was his first season there. And their assistant had come out to watch me play for Dorchester in one of the games. So it made a bit of an effort as well. But yeah, I went for USD, and I remember Tom Nutter saying, as much as it's about football, it's also about experience. And for me, that really resonated with me because I think had it just been me trying to do it myself, my mum, I would never have gone because I don't have the support system. I would never have known with visa, with admissions, how to do it. So I think, first of all, I think agency is massive. Agency then also helped me get footage together, get a highlight video, put on a showcase game or a combine for me to attend, which again, eventually I ended up at University of San Diego. I had another university, which was Bournemouth, who offered me a scholarship and then retracted it because their striker got injured. That is ACL apparently. So that was also on the card. So it's up and down, but you need someone helping you because it can be a confusing process. And I went through a range of emotions I committed to Monmouth, which was in New Jersey, because it was one of the first. It was a good offer. Just really liked the coaches, seemed really keen. I remember getting an email at 9 at night. My parents were out for dinner with some friends, and it said, "We can't offer you the scholarship anymore." I remember just thinking, like everything had fallen apart. But then again, the agency, Tom and Dan, were there to sort of help say, right, these are your options. We can continue to pursue this. They were the ones that were contacting the coaches as well. I obviously had contact with the coaches too, but they would also pursue options. They'd be able to put your profile and your videos online for coaches to access. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer having a support system in place, especially where we don't have great knowledge, or I didn't at the time, to go out there and do it yourself.
How do I know if I'm good enough to go and play football in America?
I think any level you can go out. And then from there, again, you can just build on your career. So like we spoke about the lad who went to the JUCO and has now made a Premier League appearance. I don't think people should be put off, or just because we're going from England out to America, it shouldn't be, I'm only going to go D1. Because I think junior college is such a good avenue. And I think it's 2 years where you can embed yourself, you can play, you can get regular minutes. Whereas I've seen lads who have come across from England, Germany, Sweden, Spain, wherever, come across thinking they're going to be starters, and they haven't started, and their freshman year has been a bit on and off, come on for 20 minutes one game, not come on for another. And it's there where you're going, well, what have I come out here to do? Have I come out here to play, or have I come out here just to fill in? Or what is your purpose within the team? And I think if that had been my experience, I wanted to go out there to play. whether it be in D2, whether it be in junior college, you want to go out and you want to try and play as much as possible. I also think redshirting freshman year isn't a bad thing.
Really?
If you're, depending on what university you're at and what your aspirations are.
True.
But I also think it's a really good opportunity to ground yourself, get used to the culture, get used to where you are, your surroundings. You can have an experience of being on the team, training all the time. You'll still play games come February time in the spring. And you'd get to a point where you're probably a redshirt senior. You're coming out, you finish your degree in the fall, which again, I finished mine in the spring because I did 4 years and I wasn't fully aware of condensing it into 3.5 to then obviously if the draft came available. Yeah, exactly. And again, you're that little bit older, a little bit wiser probably as a redshirt senior. But
did you ever think about transferring?
Yeah, it crossed my mind. It crossed my mind because at USD, we did well. We were ranked, but then we never made the tournament, which is my biggest regret. And how we didn't do it my senior year, I don't know.
Why? Because you had a really good team.
Had a really good team. One of my best mates, who was a striker, he's played at Columbus Galaxy. He got drafted 7th in the draft. Scored 18 and 19. But again, we didn't make the tournament. And this is where with America, I think it's a little bit different where they will go off teams that have made the tournament. They'll go off teams that have
higher
RPI, won conferences, and then they will pick individual accolades off those teams. So for myself, difficult for me to try and get accolades if we're not exposing ourselves on the best stage, if you know what I mean. So I was made captain freshman year of junior, so like just as the first season had finished, which obviously really proud of. I got accolades. I got first team all region within my 4 years. Did well in the PDL with FC Tucson, again first team all region, but unfortunately I never made first team in my conference, and I never made defender of the year. This still gets me to this day, and I might sound bitter, but I remember in my senior year in the in the first team all conference, there was only one defender. Really? And it was the guy that won defender of the year. And I was like, how? I was devastated because I'd like, obviously senior year, you pour everything into it, don't you? And I was like, oh my goodness. But again, it's difficult for like a defender where if I was a striker and I had stats, which I think America
is big on stats,
focuses on more, it might have been a little bit different in terms of like maybe accolades or whatever.
So what was your purpose? Or like you go into your senior year, were you trying to be a pro? Were you trying to go MLS, USL? Like what?
Yeah, so I would like to think one of my strengths as a person is I'm quite self-aware. I knew that I wasn't going to go MLS. I might have I went to a combine in Vegas, which was, I think it's like one less than the MLS combine, I don't know. But I went to a combine and I thought I did really well there. And I think a couple of clubs had a little bit of interest.
MLS or USL?
MLS, to maybe look at me in a draft, but didn't get drafted. And then it was in Vegas. Vegas Lights were there, so they saw me. They invited me in for pre-season. Unfortunately, nothing came of it. And then I had a little bit of a trial at Galaxy too, which nothing came of. But yeah, my goal was to try and play. I knew I wasn't going to go MLS. I've never been good enough for that level. USL or USL League One was sort of like my aim.
This is interesting because I feel similar to you in the fact that I didn't receive kind of any awards and stuff. I played Division 1 for 2 years, and the second year we won. I think I was in the championship team, and I had an inkling maybe I was going to get drafted. Didn't get drafted. I was like, okay, now I'm going to go USL. I felt like I was at the level to play USL Championship or USL 1.
Yeah.
The problem I have or had is that I didn't have an agent.
Yeah.
So I was doing it as in the college process, trying to do it myself. Why don't you think that you signed a pro contract?
That's a good question, actually. I'll probably say an agent helped a lot. I had people that I'd speak to, and I had people that would sort of like push my name in a certain direction, but it wasn't someone that was solely focusing on me. And I think, again, probably where I went through the college system, and I was in a team that did well, but never really got any sort of like put into the spotlight. Probably missed that opportunity a little bit for an agent or a scout to go, he's in the first team, or he's like defensive player of the year. So I think, agent would be one. I think probably where, again, America's big on stats, really big on stats. So if you've got a defender, I can't remember who it was. I probably won't say a name because it's not fair. But I think there was a player or a defender that scored like 8 goals in a season, and he was he just I think he probably scored about 5 penalties out of the 8. But from that, people see it and they go, God, like defender scoring that many goals, and it just bumps up your profile a little bit
So
more.
you went to Vegas, then you went to Galaxy. Why did you stop? Did you stop or did you try other things?
I didn't stop. It was COVID, so it was 2020. I went to Vegas just before COVID, and then I went to Galaxy when it was like brewing, if that makes sense. And then America went into a shutdown, or they did it by state. So I just tried to stay fit, stay competing.
But you were in San Diego.
I was in San Diego.
So you didn't go home for COVID?
Didn't go home.
Really?
But my visa was running out in August.
Right.
So in that time, obviously COVID was probably at its peak then. So I had to make the decision. Well, I say I had to make the decision. My visa was up. So I had to come back home. Came back home, kept myself fit, was sort of almost, because the season starts in like February out there, was thinking, February time would be a good time. See, there were travel restrictions. So I ended up floating about non-league, had a couple of different clubs because, again, it was difficult to get in anywhere. Like, young lad coming back from America.
No, I say really young lad, but the level,
22. Yeah, sometimes they just don't fully understand the level. I think it's got better exposure now. People have a better understanding of it, but couldn't really find a...
So how does recruiting work in non-league in England? You say you struggled. Did you have an agent? Were you just like WhatsApping managers?
No, I didn't have an agent. It was more just going and playing with teams that my friends were at. Obviously, I wanted to try and play at the highest level, so I'm trying to think the first team that I went to, I think it was Gosport Borough over in Portsmouth. Had a mate that was there, was a goalkeeper.
You just said, hey, can I come train with you?
Yeah, I just got hold of him. We were being in contact anyway, but he was like, oh yeah, I think the gaffer's looking for a centre half. So I was like, I'll come and train. I've been trying to keep myself fit. So I went to Gosport, did all right in pre-season. We played against Portsmouth first team, and I remember I came on at half time. I had a stinker. I was awful. But yeah, stayed floating about and got a couple of appearances, and then ended up going to a team called FC Portchester just to get some game time, which were step 5 at the time. Again, not where like I thought I would be, but for me, I just want to play football. I wasn't really too fussed the level. Went to Portchester, and then there was the manager there, newly assistant at a team called Hungerford at the time, which was Conference South. So I was invited to train up there a bit. Did all right, I guess, in the training sessions, but again, it was a COVID season. So it was like everyone was behind closed doors.
To be successful in and around the steps, high level of steps in England, what do players need to, what attributes do they need to have?
Got to be hardworking. Yeah, it can be...
What does hard work mean?
Hard work means off the ball. So just reactions, I think, are massive in non-league. Again, it's physical. It's a really physical league. Or non-league's a really physical style of play. You get teams that will bop it. But again, where sometimes the pitch might not be in the best condition, difficult to play that type of football, especially if you're only training once or 2 times a week. To go through such detail can be really tough to hone in on. Again, it depends on position, depends what the manager wants, but just go back to your attitude. And I think where you have a good team that are close and tight, when you're playing away on a Tuesday night that's 3 hours away and you've had to leave work, a lot of the time team morale and being next to your mate and fighting, and I say it as a term, but fighting in the trenches gets you 15 points a season. So I think that's massive, and I think you've just got to be open to, right, this might not be a game where I'm actually able to get on the ball. It might be that you might be a number 10. You might just have to, right, today I'm just going to have to pick up second balls, or a centre mid, might not get on it. But it might just be the style of play that's required.
For players when you were playing at Bournemouth that made it to the first team or made it pro, what did they have that you didn't have?
Ability. I played with some fantastic players, really good. I'll probably say the one player that has gone on to have a really, really good career, hard work, real hard work, and exposed himself to non-league and the Football League at a young age and proved himself. So I think, again, everyone has different skill sets, different abilities, but I think the way in which your attitude, and again, sometimes it's like, manager likes you and they'll take you to different teams that they might go. But yeah, I just think again, on ability, but I just think how you apply yourself and making sure you're maximising your potential, whether it's doing extras, whether it's out on the pitch. I just think that's a massive thing as well.
Good. Henry, you've got a last quick fire round for you.
Go for it.
Favorite as a player, favorite drill or exercise?
Favorite drill, it was attack versus defense when defense is underloaded.
One thing you wish you knew before moving to Division 1?
Oh, fantastic question. Oh my goodness. I would say it's meant to be quick fire as well, isn't it? I would say recovery in between games, knowing that your games are condensed and how you nutrition wise and recover.
Good one. Who's the toughest team that you played in college?
Toughest team I played in college, I would probably say toughest individual game I played was Notre Dame at Notre Dame, my sophomore year.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's the one. And I would say toughest in terms of the game where I walked off the pitch and I thought, God, that was like physically a battle, was Santa Barbara away in front of a bumper crowd with a load of tortillas being thrown at us when they scored.
Classic. Favorite American food?
What a question. I would probably go for Chipotle or In-N-Out.
Chipotle, I miss Chipotle. Yeah. There's one in Bournemouth, I think.
There's a tortilla, which is like the
similar
version of it. It's unreal.
Yeah. The Wish version. And then lastly, one piece of advice to a 16-year-old player.
Take every opportunity you have to continue to improve your game, and don't let anyone tell you that you're just going to play at a certain level.
What is, just to finish off, for someone that's listening to this, that is 16, 17, I feel like you've had a lot of experiences with your career. What would you say is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
I'll probably say I say to always keep your head down. I can't hone in on a certain piece of advice, but just where people have given me that encouragement and just say, as long as you work hard, control what you can control. I think that's the biggest thing.
What does that mean, control what you can control?
Control your work rate, control the way in which you conduct yourself, and control who you are as a person. Technically, it might not be your day. Physically, you might come up against someone that's just a mismatch and you've got to try and problem solve within it. It might be that you've had a bad day, and it might be that the way in which you play and just isn't going your way. But your reaction to it, your mentality, the way in which you conduct yourself around the group and just giving 100%. I think that's the biggest thing whenever you get the opportunity to play football, because I think you get to a period where one day it might say you can't play anymore, but your body might not let you. And you might think, God, what if I'd done that differently? Or what if I'd gone and done this extras on a weekend or at night before training? Little things like that I think, stuff that's done away from training a lot of the time. Again, like I said, recovery and the way in which you eat is massive. So my advice would be for that, just control what you can control. And then you give yourself the best chance at making it, getting into a team, going to college, playing professionally, whatever the aspirations or goals are, you give yourself the best opportunity, and you can look back when you hang up your boots on a peg and say, yeah, I gave it my all.
Amazing. Henry, thank you so much for your time.
No worries.
I really appreciate it. Guys, we'll tag Henry's Instagram if you learnt anything or there was an interesting topic or you have any question for him, send him a message, say thank you. But I think that was a really good episode. I learnt a lot, and it was really interesting to see Henry's perspective. I can't wait to go back to America after speaking to you. So thank you so much.
Me too.